Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Ursula Susan Fontano, and I'd like to welcome you to the Wednesday, January the 6th, 2021 Zoning Board of Appeals meeting. We have an announcement to make due to the times. It says, pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, GLC 30A S 18, and the governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, as well as Mayor Curtatoni's declaration of emergency dated March 15th, 2020. This meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals will be conducted via remote participation. We will have an audio recording available upon request as soon as possible after the meeting. First thing here on the agenda, we have a little out of order. Well, we have continuances. So I'd like to ask the clerk, Danielle Evans, to please handle that. Danielle, are you on?
Yes, I'm just lost my agenda on my screen. Now
Okay, take a minute.
I have too many windows open. Okay, we just have the one continuances? Is that correct?
No, we've got another, well, yes, do the one continuance first and then we'll call McGrath Highway. Is that right, Charlotte? Okay.
That is
One
correct, Madam
continuance,
Chair.
Danielle.
Okay, I didn't realize they were continuing as well. Okay, in the matter of 337 Somerville Avenue, I make a motion that we continue this matter to the February 3rd, 2020 meeting.
Second.
May I have a second by Elaine Severino? All in favor of the continuance, as I call you out, say aye, please. Elaine Severino,
Aye.
Danielle Evans,
Aye.
Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Josh Safdie,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. It's unanimous, 337 Somerville Ave for February 3rd, 2020. The next case on the agenda to cover tonight is 15 McGrath Highway.
Madam Chair,
Mhm.
through you, the applicants for 15 McGrath Highway, can you just raise your hand? Great, okay. Michael Gerhart, you are unmuted. You might need to unmute yourself as well. There you go.
Thank you, Madam Chair, through you. Mike Gerhart, representing 15 McGrath. We'd like to request a continuance to the hearing on January 20th.
Okay, so may I have a motion from the clerk for the continuance?
In the matter of 15 McGrath Highway, I make a motion that we continue this to the January 20th, 2021 meeting.
Thank
Second.
you. I have a second. Thank you, Elaine Severino. So in the matter of DRA 2020-0334, 15 McGrath Highway, all in favor, please say aye. Elaine Severino.
Aye.
Danielle Evans.
Aye.
Ann Brockelman.
Aye.
Josh Safdie.
Aye.
And Susan Fontano, aye. It's unanimous. They are continued till January 2020 per their request. The next item on the agenda is 9 to 11 Aldersley Street. It's a new case, so the clerk must open it, and then we're going to turn it over to Sarah White, our staff person who's been following this and handling it. Thank you. Danielle, please.
Okay, it says it was continued from December 16th, so it wasn't opened then?
That is correct. It was not open
Okay.
because we didn't have a quorum.
Okay,
Right.
all right, 9 to 11 Aldersea Street. Special permits for an 11-unit development shall be issued as ordered by Judge Long of the Massachusetts Land Court, ZBA case 2003-25. Applicant Gerard Meehan, trustee, and G&T Realty Trust.
Thank you, Danielle. Miss Sarah, would you like to date, and is Attorney Shapiro going to be on board for this as well? Can you folks bring us up to date and enlighten us?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Through you. Actually, I would, Mr. Shapiro, if you don't mind, could we ask Mr. Shapiro to come on screen too?
Right.
So we do have the applicant's attorney, Edward Lonergan, here. And he will be here to answer questions and make any presentation necessary. But what I wanted to start off with is to explain to the ZBA exactly what you have in front of you. 9 to 11 Aldersea Street has been a case that has been in the court system for since about, well, it's been ongoing for 18 years. And it's been in the court system for well over 10, if not 15 or more. And so there was a historic preservation component of the case, and then there was a ZBA component of the case. So there were two separate arms of litigation. The judge in the historic preservation portion of the case ruled that the Somerville Historic Preservation Commission had erred and were required to issue a certificate of appropriateness for the project that had been presented with minor cosmetic material design changes. As pertains to the Zoning Board of Appeals case, that has been remanded back to the ZBA by order of Judge Keith Long, and the ZBA is ordered to approve the case, to approve the proposal, period. There are no changes that can be made to the proposal at all. This is a public hearing, so the ZBA does need to take public comment on it. This all falls under the auspices of the code that was in place at the time. So this first came in roughly 2002 to 2004. So it falls under all the rules and regulations, all of the ordinance that was in place at that time. None of the new zoning applies to this case at all. I know questions came up during the Historic Preservation Commission hearing about why hadn't it gone to the Urban Design Commission, and why didn't the community have input on the design. That's done. That has been litigated in the court, and so the community does not have any input into the design. The Urban Design Commission has no role in this process at all. So what you have before you in your memo are the plans that are associated with this. They are plans more like what you would see in 2002, 2004, as opposed to what we see today. And then there is a description in your memo going through the history of the case and what the role of the ZBA is. It has been agreed amongst parties that having reasonable conditions added to this is permissible. A list of those conditions has been provided in your memo. Any questions about any of them, please do feel free to ask. But this has been reviewed. We're at the end game here, and the last part of this is for the ZBA to approve as ordered by the judge.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
Mr. Shapiro, would you like to say anything to us?
I think Sarah did a great job
Great job.
presenting the crux of what's before you. So if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them, but I think Sarah provided all the insight you need. Certainly, if Mr. Lonergan wants to address you, he may have some insights too, but from my point of view, it's all in front of you.
Great. As usual, once we hear what we hear and get all brought up to par, we open it up to the public for their input and their comments, as well as would like to offer the attorney, if you'd like to chime in right now, please. Is it Lonigan? Am I saying it
Yes.
right?
It's Edward
Lonigan,
Lonergan.
Attorney Lonigan?
Yes, it is.
You're, hi,
Yes,
good
it is.
evening. Welcome. I'm
Yes,
like to
can you
give
hear
you
me?
the floor for, yes, I can.
Good evening,
Can
how are
hear
you?
us? Good. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can't see you, but I can hear you. I
Okay,
can hear
good.
you, but not see you.
All right, that's okay. That keeps us out of trouble a little bit. So do you have something you'd like to comment on for, give you a couple of minutes before we open it up to the public? I think he's having some audio issues.
Mr. Lonergan, we can't hear you right now.
Charlotte, can you check that out, please?
This is Charlotte speaking. From our end, his audio appears to be working perfectly. So there's nothing that we can do there's nothing on
That's
our
good.
end that we can change.
Okay. All right.
I can text him and ask him what's going on there.
Okay,
like.
great. If not, we'll move on to the public. How many people do you have signed on for this case, Charlotte? Do you know?
We have a total of 10 individuals from the public at this meeting. I don't know how many of those are for this case versus for any of the other matters we have on the agenda tonight, but
All right.
we can
Good.
do the public comment
Okay.
routine if you would like.
Mr. Shapiro?
Yes, he doesn't know why it's not working, he says, so.
What's
he said
not
go
working?
forward. Mr. Lonigan.
Yeah, what's not working? His mic?
Yeah,
We
so
can-
he said just go forward and then we can.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. So Charlotte would like to open it up to the public.
So for any members of the public who have not been here before, the way that we do public comment is there is a raise hand function on your control panel. If you select that image, it's an image of a hand that notifies us that you want to speak, and we can unmute you so that you can be heard by the board. So at this time, if anyone wishes to speak on this case, please raise your hand and we will unmute you. Madam Chair, I'm not seeing anyone indicating that they wish to speak.
Okay, great. So at this point, we'll close the public portion and open it up to the board for any comments, questions, or suggestions they may have. As usual, folks, just raise your hand so we can acknowledge you for the record, and then you can speak. Did everybody have an opportunity to read Sarah's report very well? Thank you, Sarah, and all the conditions that are there. And we understand that all parties got together on this, Sarah, and they're all happy?
They are so yes, this has been discussed with the attorney and for the litigant and our legal department. Our
Great.
legal department, how shall we say, it doesn't look over every detail of what I write, but just make sure
Okay, no.
that legally we're okay. Is
Okay.
that fair to say, Mr.
So-
Shapiro?
That's correct.
So does anybody have a question or a comment? Ann Brockelman.
Master.
Yes, please.
I don't know how minor this is, but there's a small discrepancy between the site plan and the elevation of building A. And if you want your documents to be, 100% accurate, if you go to the site plan,
Yeah,
it just depends on what the purpose of the site plan is. Is it really for architectural or it's just kind of context? The building A, go to the bottom left. The porch doesn't extend beyond the building.
right.
If you
I
go to
see
the
that.
elevation, on page, the front elevation, page 11 of the PDF, it does extend. So, Sarah, it just depends on how an attorney Shapiro, whether this is de minimis or not, or you want everything to match perfectly. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Could
Nothing
you,
needs to be fixed, they
yes.
should fix it. I don't want to get into an issue where we don't know what they're supposed to be
right,
presenting, so I'm sure Mr. Lonergan will be happy to go back to his architect and straighten that out.
It's literally just pulling like 2 lines over. And I don't know if the porch affects the side setback with this previous zoning or not.
is Mr. Lonergan, Madam Chair, through you, is Mr. Lonergan able to comment on that, Mr. Shapiro? He can call in as well.
I'm going to ask him now if he can call in so that we can try to get his point of view on that.
I think it really would be helpful if he could.
I agree. Thank you, Sarah.
And is it fair to offer that perhaps if Mr. Lonergan is having difficulty getting back online or in touch, that that we look to pause this discussion, move on to the next one, and come back if it's taking more than a few minutes?
He said it's not working. He says the phones are followed up over there. What I can do is I can maybe ask him to call me and then try to, you know, come on speakerphone and see if we can try it. So
Great.
when I try that, for starters, if it doesn't work, then we can always try something else. All right, so I'm going to try that.
Great. Now, Ian.
But does everyone
Ian, I have a-
agree with me? I'm not misreading the documents. Josh, Danielle, you see what I'm saying?
So you're saying on the site plan, I see it very plainly. It's right there in the front on the left. Then where do you, now you're comparing it to what page? It's building
Page
A.
11. Yeah,
Well,
PDF
mine were
page
numbered
11, building
like
A, front
building
elevation,
A.
south.
Got it.
See the left side, the porch extends beyond the building itself.
The building, correct. Yes, I see that. Everybody see that?
I asked him to call me and I'll put him on speaker, but I haven't heard back from him yet. So let's
Okay,
see
all
where we end up here.
right. Danielle, do you see that? You look bewildered.
The plan set I'm looking at only has 8 pages, so I'm wondering if I'm looking at the wrong one. This is the one that I got off the,
Updated.
It
Danielle,
says
this would have been in your
front-
email.
Yeah,
so this wasn't in the, uploaded in whatever that site is.
It is uploaded on the site. It's just the plans are uploaded separately on the site from the report, but what you were emailed, the plans and the report are contained in the same document. So that is why I believe Ms. Brockelman is referencing page 11 of the PDF,
Hi, David.
because it's that combined document.
Okay. I was looking at the files separately. So which page is it on the, in the PDF then? It's the 3rd page? Is it?
yeah, it's right. It's,
Of
that's right. It's the 3rd page. You have your site plan page, then A building, left and rear elevations, and then you go to the 3rd page. It says building A, right elevation east, front elevation south. Am I correct, Sarah?
Yeah, I see it. I see it, how the,
Good.
So I have Ed Lonergan on speakerphone now. Can you see if Ed can speak and you can hear him? Ed, can you speak?
I can see, but I don't see the problem, so I have to be educated.
Okay. Do you want to try again, explain it to Mr. Lonergan, and we can figure out what the issue is and we can try to troubleshoot?
And
Should I? In the
Yes.
site plan, looking at building A,
Yes?
the bottom left corner near the front porch, it
Yes.
shows the porch ending right before the building.
right,
In the elevation, it shows that it extends a little bit beyond the building
Oh,
in the
okay.
elevation. So it's just a matter of you know, the documentation, which is the intention. And I know this has been reviewed by Historic, and that's not under our purview, but I'm just pointing out that the documents should be consistent.
Okay, a simple suggestion is whatever Sarah would prefer, be fine with us.
Let me see.
Josh?
So,
I want Josh to take a peek with Ann where there are architects. Do you see what she's bringing out, Josh?
Can you show your screen, Charlotte, maybe?
I don't have these plans up on screen, but Sarah,
let me,
if you would-
let me see.
I will
It's
make you the
usually-
presenter.
Okay, thanks.
I can if I'm allowed. I have it right up here as well, but
Actually,
I will make you the presenter, Ms. Brockelman.
if you could, because so that Anne can go specifically through what she's looking to show.
yep. Okay.
Right.
I'm saying show my screen. I have to pick
We
which
can
screen.
see your screen. Yep.
That's
You
it.
can see where that's it, see
Yeah.
where I highlighted that. And then if
Yes.
you go to the plan,
It's like right there
this is
again,
roughly where it would be.
Mm-hmm.
but it's not there now. Correct. Thank you for that, Ann.
So
Now, what
if
do
I'm,
you do to rectify that?
could I make a suggestion, Madam Chair?
Yes, please.
So, and this is to the ZBA as well as to Attorney Lonergan and Attorney Shapiro as well. Could I make a suggestion that we add a condition that states that the elevation and plan regarding this porch feature will be corrected and submitted as a final document to planning staff, and that it shall also be reflected in the construction documents.
Great.
But I think Mr. Safdie has a question.
Josh, go ahead, please. We can't hear you. No.
Josh just wrote he's going to log out and come back in again.
While we're waiting, Charlotte, were you able to pencil that down, the comment? Okay.
So Josh also noted that there are additional issues with the elevation than what Anne raised. So I think he wants to come up with and discuss those.
Okay, great. Because that's why we all should look at these, my suggestion would be for where we are now is everybody get their input, we'll make the corrections and then cover it with a condition as you suggested, Sarah, so that we make sure we catch it all.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's Josh. Any better, Josh? No. No. I can see your lips moving, but nothing's coming out. There.
How about
It's there.
now? Okay.
Yes.
Hey.
I don't know.
Welcome.
I don't know what happened. So yeah, I mean the elevations of building A show the porch wrapping, if I understand it right, around 3 sides of the house. But the plans only show on 2 sides. So there are more issues than just what Ann noticed. Right? I mean, this this site plan doesn't have a north arrow, so I'm just assuming that
Yeah.
north is up. But and I know, Sarah, when you sent this around, you explained that, these are plans from some time ago. I still think that a licensed architect should know to put a north arrow on a site plan. That's just sort of basics, and it doesn't give me a lot of confidence in the future of the construction if it's going to be this architect who's producing the construction documents. But at any rate, if we assume that north on the site plan is up, it's showing a porch on the east and on the south side. But the elevations show porch on east, south, and west. So I'm Sarah, I don't mind the condition. I wonder if we're getting into a point now, though, that these are big enough changes that, historic may not have really understood what they were voting on, and that actually it should get back to them. I'll leave that to you all. I'll leave that to you and staff. But I think I would support a condition in relative to our ruling, which is not just that we fix the one issue with the porch, but that the drawings have a thorough check for coordination to make sure that it's a complete and accurate set of drawings to work as a record set.
Thank you, Josh. I agree. I have a question. When I look at the building A, I see a porch for the north. What is a VH porch for the left, for the west? What's VH standing for? Is that an architectural term, or is it something I missed in the report? And then if you look at the front elevation south, there's a porch that protrudes. And on the right elevation east, it says VH porch. What's VH? Because Josh, you said there was 3 places. So I see a porch at 4 places protruding beyond the building.
Oh,
Am
excuse me, Madam Chair. So VH porch, if you notice, it also says VH corner board above that.
Right.
And see the
What's
detail.
VH?
Is that a material call out? I believe it is.
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Lonergan, I believe it's a yes, Vinyl House. Sorry, Vinyl House. So the original house was known as the Vinyl House, VINAL, not YL.
Oh, okay.
And
That's
so
right.
it's referring to that house, the Vinyl House
Right.
itself, I believe. So it looks like they're using the same style or a similar style as what's on the Vinyl House itself currently.
Okay, thank you.
Replicating that in the new build.
So the porch, so to answer my question, the porch protrudes on all 4 side views?
That's Mr. Lonergan, that question, right? Hey, Mr.
Yes.
Lonergan, did you hear the question they had asked? Hello?
Shut that door over, please. Thanks.
Mr. Lonergan, are you hearing the question they're asking?
Hi, David.
Did you hear that question they just asked you?
Yes, and I'm only an attorney as you.
Yeah, right.
Again, I would defer to whatever would keep the board happy and would keep the Historic Commission happy, will adapt. I mean, if there's any confusion here, I apologize, but we've both been through it for a long time, and maybe we missed something, I don't know.
Mr.
I'd like
Lonigan, is
to-
there no way?
Sarah's,
Excuse me,
Sarah's
David.
condition made complete sense to me. If there's a way to accomplish that, if not, I guess the worst case, we'd have to come back again, but I think we can hopefully work this out such that, the board can decide what it, if the board's able to do that, can the board pick one they like better, and then he will adapt accordingly, or we can say something to the effect of we can work out the details later, if these are minor or not.
Well, if we were to say, Attorney Shapiro, that we liked the left elevation west with the porch, right? That porch actually would be within the 12'6" side yard setback. Because on the west side of the house is built right to the setback line, as it shows in
No,
the
it's
site
not, we
plan.
only need 8 feet. The
Well, that's not what the
setback
site plan
requirement is 8
says.
feet. No, we have 12 feet. We only need 8.
Okay, well, the site plan prepared by the architect says side yard setback line,
And that's
and it
the
shows a
actual,
dimension of.
that's
Well,
the
that's not the
actual
setback
setback.
line. That's the distance from the property line to the house. That's not a. If I get a site plan that says side yard setback line, it tells me that's what the required setback is.
Well, that's not what it's intended to be, because the required setback in a residence A is 8 feet.
Okay, well, we still don't know whether. We still don't know whether that. That looks to me like that porch is more than 4'6" wide, so it still would be encroaching on the 8-foot setback.
Well, the porch on the revised site plan was along the front and then along the right side. So
Yes,
that
but
would-
the elevations don't reflect that. The elevations show the porch wrapping around 3 sides.
so-
Right.
So there appears to be a mistake on the elevation, and the easy way to correct it, it seems to me, you take the portion that's on the left that would be in the side yard and you eliminate it, and we proceed.
Well, I don't think that's for the board to do, respectfully. I think that's for the project architect to do.
The project architect is just going to change the line. If the board wants to have a wraparound porch, we can do that. If the board wants to have a porch on one side, we can do that. If it wants it on the other side, we can do that. Obviously, there was a oversight here, and these plans were done working with the Preservation Commission. So it was, I'd suggest it's a minor mistake, and that is something that can be corrected by choosing what you think is best, and we will do whatever it is best.
Madam Chair,
Yes. Who's speaking?
Um,
Raise your hand. Oh, Danielle.
Danielle, sorry.
Yes.
The camera mirrors and I never know if you can see it. Which plans did the judge look at? Because the judge ultimately made the finding
Please.
that met the special permit criteria. I don't feel like it's us to say whether we want it 2 sides, 3 sides. What plan set did the judge say we are supposed to approve? So I'm not comfortable just doing things on the fly here.
No,
No.
I'm not either. Especially what this has gone through for all these years. We want it right. So where do we go from here, board? Architects and Attorney Shapiro speak. Ann Brockelman, go ahead.
Just one other similar issue. So in the conditions, staff was willing to approve, in the conditions, these 2 windows,
Yes.
right? Which would be here. Do you see my
Yeah.
screen?
Yes.
So that should also be picked up. Again, I understand we're not here to deliberate design. We just are here to approve the design, but the drawings just should be correct, whichever way it is.
I agree.
And my suggestion would be that, I know we're trying to move this along here, but my suggestion would be to, now that Mr. Lonergan sees your concerns, he can go back to the architects and have them correct it, and then come back to the next meeting and do it then. Because I think the board's got to, from my point of view, the board's points are well taken to make sure it's done correctly and accurately, so there's no question down the road.
Correct. That's what I would like. That's what I'm just saying. I think right now, Ann brought out the comment about the condition number 22, showing the 2 windows with the C. What is that for, the C? What's that about? Sarah?
Building C.
I'm sorry.
Condition number 22.
Yes, so if you take a look at the staff memo, it refers to
Yeah.
buildings A, building B, building C. So the C in this condition
Okay.
refers to building C, yes.
C. All right. So that's not, the letter's not going to go on any other buildings? Or is it the way it's going to be? All 3 buildings?
I'm sorry, I don't understand the question, Madam Chair.
If we're requiring, and number 22, condition 22, the C for the C building, and you're saying there's an A building and a B building, are we going to have letters as well on those buildings?
They're not actually going on the buildings themselves, they're just referring to the building. So the building on the left is known as Building A for development purposes. The building in the middle is known as Building B, and the building on the right of the existing building will be known as Building C, but that's just for reference purposes. It won't be actually on the building itself.
Oh, okay. All right, great. And so where's Charlotte? Hi, Charlotte. Can you make sure you gather up all these comments now?
Yeah, so there are comments about condition number 22 and about the porch and where exactly it will be built that need to be addressed before the next meeting,
All
or
right,
addressed in
one
the plan.
All right, 1 second. I'd like us to be very, 1 minute, Elaine, I'll pick you up 1 second. I just want to get the other 2 straightened out. Before we go further, I don't want any questions. Ann, would you please make sure Charlotte, would you be eloquent enough right now to elaborate on what you wanted us, what you're checking out? You're checking what you first said. The site plan compared to, would you tell her?
The site plan should match the elevation drawings. They should check everything, but what we've seen, the discrepancy that we've seen is a wraparound porch. And then with that, if you're going to correct that, then condition 22 should just be picked up and not be, embedded in a condition. It should just be part of the drawing set.
Okay. That
To
all
add
set
the
with
square
you?
windows.
All right.
And I think it's not, but it's up to the applicant or whoever has jurisdiction to determine the setback and the zoning requirements. That's not within our purview today.
No, it's not.
Right.
So Mr. Shapiro will be aware of all this. Now we have Josh. What was your input, Josh?
Anne summarized it well. I would just underscore the comment that, I have very little confidence in this drawing set based on what I've seen. And I would think that after 16 years, a little more attention would have been brought to it. And so I think there's another message, which is just, we caught a couple things, but it's not our job to correct your architect's drawings. And that a little more care needs to be taken in checking throughout the entire drawing set and make sure that everything is consistent and complete.
Thank you. Charlotte, you have that? Now Elaine Severino, you had your hand up, please.
Yes, I just wanted to agree with Danielle to make sure that, I know we have to approve this, but to make sure that we are doing exactly what the judge took a look at and that's what we are approving, that we don't want to make a change here or a change there. If the judge did not look at that particular drawing with a change here or there.
And how do we, Josh, go ahead.
Sorry, Madam Chair. I think Elaine's got a good point. I didn't want to miss it. I something else occurred to me that I just wanted to make sure I got in, but.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I mean, I don't see in the drawing set an actual plot plan by a surveyor or anybody else, and I guess it's a question to staff. I mean, I realized that this was originally a 2004 case. There may have been different filing requirements, et cetera, but you know, I would prefer to see a plot plan, and I don't know where that request might stand relative to what, you know, has been ordered by the judge, but we certainly wouldn't let this go without a certified plot plan or survey today.
Okay. Sarah, is that something that's okay to request? The plot plan? Can you check that out?
Yes, I'll have a discussion with the attorneys on this.
Okay, great. And so Elaine, Danielle, did Elaine express what you had said? I just want to make sure Charlotte doesn't go around saying, gee whiz, they were all saying something at once. I want to make sure I get it right. Mr. Shapiro, what do you think about what we're saying?
No, like I said, I think it makes sense to have it corrected. The only issue I have, I'm just thinking out loud here, is that the land court approved the zoning components of it based upon something about roughly 10 years ago, and their approval was essentially, part of that approval required the historic to weigh in and make minor modifications. So the reality is that you're not going to have in front of you the plans from roughly 10 years ago when the land court first approved it. I think Mr. Lonergan would probably say that if I were to ask him, because the reality is that things have changed and there have been some minor additions and modifications since the land court case because the historic weighed in and offered their input. Is that correct, Mr. Lonergan, from your point of view?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was my sense of it. So the reality is you're not going to have something. I know Ms. Severino and Ms. Evans mentioned they want something that's been blessed by the land court, but that's not going to be the exact case because of the context of the situation.
Okay. So,
Well, Madam Chair, so
who's
it's
speaking?
whichever plan, can you not see me?
Yes, okay.
We can see you.
So can we confirm with the Historic Commission which plans that they have then?
If I could, Madam Chair, this is what they looked at.
Right, you'd
So
know
the
that.
historic, yes, so the
Yeah.
Historic
Four
Preservation
from three
Commission,
sides or two sides?
yeah, so exactly. So the Historic Preservation Commission looks at, they don't look at site plans the way you do. Like they have the
No.
information, but they don't say like, oh, I see this line drawing here on this site plan, but I don't see it in elevation. Their concern is predominantly with elevations and what they look like. And so they're not going to compare that to the site plan. So, and they were also tasked with, they could make minor changes to certain architectural elements, and they could have input on reasonable material conditions, the materials that we're going to use in the construction of the building, but they don't look at setbacks. They don't look at height. They don't look at the details that you do. So they're not going to actually be comparing them in the way that you all do in your job as ZBA members.
So Sarah,
Thank
in
you.
some ways that concerns me more because I could imagine the HPC thinking that the west elevation benefited significantly from that third leg of the wraparound porch, right? If that left
Correct.
elevation didn't have the porch, HPC might feel differently about it. But you know, I'm using a software package that allows me to scale measured drawings, and it's more, you know, that porch as drawn would encroach on the required side yard setback as Attorney Lonergan has described it. So that to me is a bigger concern, that if the HPC thinks that they're getting the building as described by the elevations, but the inaccuracy in the site plan would actually prevent the applicant from actually being able to build that. That's a concern.
Yes, there are some provisions in the, I'm sorry, Madam Chair, through you. There are some provisions in the HPC approval that does allow for things that could be considered de minimis type of changes to not have to go back to them. You know, whether or not a removal of that porch would be considered as such on the new construction, you know, would need further assessment. But there was a mechanism specifically designed into their approval on this for issues perhaps such as this one that might come up. But your point is taken.
So where do we go? Where must we go now? Do we go back to the architect? Or do we simply say that we wanted to go, do we want to go with the elevations or do we want to go with the site plan? That's the question, right?
Yeah, my advice at this point, given the concerns that have been raised by the board, is to come back next meeting and try to see if we can resolve the issues that are a concern to the board. I think that'll be my advice. Doesn't mean it's the right advice, but that's my sense of it.
I think that's, well, I'll speak for myself. That's what I'd be more comfortable with, that we just fine tuning the documents. We came up with this. Sarah, she's the go-to point person, and you go back. She'll get in touch with the attorney, Mr. Lonigan, and his architect or whatever, and just make sure that the site plan and the elevation, they match. That's what we're talking about here, is that they just don't match. And we want to approve, we want to go forward with this. We want to follow the court's orders, but we see a little error here or there. We must rectify it before it goes to file. So if it's all right with everybody, I would ask the clerk then at this point, Mr. Lonigan, I hope you're okay with this. Would like to continue this until the 20th. Is that all right with you?
Yes, it is.
Great. So would the clerk please make a motion and in the explanation explain that we have to have a couple of corrections made.
In the matter of 9 to 11 Aldersea Street, I make a motion that we continue this to the January 20th, 2021 meeting in order for staff and the applicant team to make changes to the drawing so that they are reconciled and match.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Elaine Severino. So all in favor, please say aye. We have Elaine Severino,
Aye.
Danielle Evans,
Aye.
Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Josh Safdie,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. It's unanimous. The ayes have it. So we'll see you folks back on the 20th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Shapiro.
My pleasure. Have a good night. Happy New Year, everybody.
Same to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ann, and just all of you, Ann and Josh, for being very sharp and catching that. That's why when we make up this board, we try and have a lot of different people in positions so you can all weigh in with your expertise. And thank you. So a fine example of that tonight. Okay, so the next order of business under other business is the deliberation and vote on the comprehensive permit for ZBA. So I think, is this something to be open or is this something we just discussed, right, Charlotte? We don't open this.
So it's other business, so I think you do need to open it. It's not a public hearing, but there's no harm in opening it. We have the applicants present.
Oh, good.
to
Okay, let's
discuss
do
it
that.
afterwards.
All right. So, Madam Clerk, would you please read this into the record?
The matter under other business, deliberation and vote to determine whether a proposed reduction in the number of units and changes to height and footprint of the comprehensive permit, ZBA 2011-79, issued for 485 Mystic Valley Parkway are substantial or insubstantial changes. It was continued from the December 16, 2020 meeting.
Thank you very much.
Joe Macaluso of the Somerville Housing Authority is present, as is Alana Quirk. Alana, you seem to be having issues unmuting you again, or I seem to be having issues unmuting you again. It seemed to be working earlier, but if you want to work on that while Mr. Macaluso speaks. That would be great.
Good evening, Mr. Macaluso.
Good evening, Madam Chairwoman and members of the board. Happy New Year.
Same to you. Glad to have you on board tonight. So tell us what's going on.
So, Madam Chairwoman, most of what we proposed in the history of the project is in the letter that we submitted previously, but I'll tell you briefly. And first of all, let me introduce who's with me this evening for the meeting representing the Housing Authority. Alana Quirk is our counsel from Freeman Law Group. Charlene Reagan is our consultant for the Housing Authority. Frank Valdez is our architect from DeMella Schaefer, and Kevin Bumpus is with me representing also employees of the Housing Authority. So we're here this evening, as they say, this is something we've completed phase 1 of the Waterworks project several years ago, but we're coming before you now because we believe that we can get in the ground and complete this much needed senior housing quicker if we reduce the number of units, both for financing purposes and because we believe it's really suits the site more appropriately as far as density. Another reason may be that in conjunction with the Clarendon Hill project, which you approved well over a month ago, this may be used as a relocation location for some of our residents that will need to be relocated. And even beyond that, we're likely to use the same construction technology that we're going to be using at Clarendon. So things that are converging at the same time, rather than wait and seek funding that would put us way behind, I'm sure many, many months longer to raise the funding necessary and to make the design more appropriate, we think, for the entire campus that we've created up there. We think it's the right size. So we'll be happy to answer any questions you may have with Alana, if she's got her mic squared away, or Frank, our architect, or of course, Charlene. Thank you.
Hello.
Madam Chair, this is Charlotte speaking. I'm still trying to unmute Alana. In the meantime, I can share on my screen the memo that I sent to you all, just providing a summary of basically state law. Let's see what this pops up. So this section where it starts 760 CMR is copied exactly from 760 CMR, which is the 40B regulations promulgated by DHCD. This is their guidance to the board on what might be considered an increase, or sorry, what might be considered a substantial change versus what might be considered an insubstantial change. I'm still working to unmute Alana. Alana, if you can try doing your computer audio, that may work. It is not letting me send you your PIN, or it's not, your PIN somehow isn't working. When you logged on earlier with with the second instance, that seemed to work. If you want to try that again.
Is she permitted to phone in, Charlotte, if she doesn't reach
Yeah,
us?
so right now it looks like she's trying to phone in, but she needs to enter a PIN, and I think her PIN is for some reason not working. So you have two options when you're doing audio. Under the audio tab, you can always either do computer audio, which uses your computer microphone and speakers, or you can do a phone call. Either both work depending on your setup. Sometimes switching between them can alleviate any technical issues that you're having. In the meantime, is there anyone? Oh, Frank Valdez from the applicant team. Frank, you are unmuted.
I mean, I'm happy to present some of the changes if we want to keep this moving, and to refer to the 760 CMR, what we're doing and what we're not doing that is applicable to that. So if that's okay with the board, I'm happy to continue with that.
That'll be fine. Charlotte, did we not get sent to us a copy of the changes?
So you did get a copy of the changes. I can pull them up if you would like. Give me one moment.
I can also go through the changes if you give me, I have something that I could, oh, well, there you have it, but.
Of the entire thing. Frank, feel free to direct me to different pages.
So, I mean, I think that, you know, I can give you the big picture of this. Initially, when we proposed this new building, and you can go to the site plan for it, which is, you know, right there. So to the right, you have the historical building, which was completed at the end of 2014, I believe, and it was 25 units of affordable senior housing, and it was a historical building. To the left of it is the proposed site of what we were at that point proposing to be a 35-unit complex. It was a 4-story building, and basically what we're bringing to the board now is a reduction in that. The footprint is basically staying somewhat the same, but what we're proposing is 21 units in total, and it's a 3-story building now. So the changes are basically height reduction and unit reduction. The building footprint pretty much stays the same. The building function pretty much stays the same. It's still providing the same amenity spaces and mechanical and functional spaces as before. And we're providing some additional spaces in order to complement the uses of the building that was done on the first phase. And if you go through the sheets, you can see some of the, these are the plans that's being proposed. Towards the end, you will see some of the proposed components, which show you what was before and what was after, which is what, you know, Friedman's office put together and submitted to you. So these are just some of the elevations now, and to give you more information, keep going. If you keep going. Here, this is some of the big picture changes as you go. So if you keep going, you'll see the diagrams showing you the reduction. So footprint basically stays the same. As you can see, in red is our old footprint. Let me see, indicated in the red is a new proposed footprint that we're doing for the new building versus the old one that we proposed back then. If you go to keep scrolling, that's just a close-up of it. And then the plans, as you can see, pretty much have stayed the same. We went from 35 units to 21 units, and what we basically did is just chop off an entire floor of the building and try to add just more outdoor spaces, balconies, as well as terraces for the building in order to amenitize for the city population. And you can keep going. And then here is just showing you what we proposed last time, which was a 4-story building. And this is at the bottom of that. It's a 3-story building that we're proposing now. And those are the big changes that we're doing. We're trying to continue with the same enhancement material-wise to complement the historical building and amenitize the building in order to now have a more cohesive community that builds upon the 2 buildings. And those are the big changes. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
It's hi, this is Susan. It's too bad we had to lose, it's 14 units, but I think aesthetically, when you're driving down the parkway there and the Cape and Courts up above, and this is now 3 instead of 4 stories, and the water building is a low story building, I think it's almost a softer look and a kinder look for that area with the parkway and across, you know, as people come down and everything. So it's a shame we're losing the 14 units, but like you're saying, Mr. Macaluso, the financing, the products you're going to be using, it's going to all tie in better. And let's face it, the Clarendon project is going to be spectacular and be able to take care of a lot of people. So I think it looks great. I think it looks very good. Anybody else comment? Danielle? Hi, Danielle.
Hi. So I think what's before us is whether we think it's a substantial change or not, whether we like it or not.
Right.
The 40% drop in units, I think
That
that's
is.
substantial. So I think that's what we're supposed to determine tonight, correct?
Yes.
Whether I like it or not, if that feels substantial.
Alana, I have unmuted.
I think I might be on now. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can you hear me? See, now I can't hear you, but now I can see you and not hear you, but hopefully you can hear me. I did hear the comment just a moment ago, and I thank you for your time and sorry for all the technical difficulties, Madam Chair and members of the board. What you have before you is exactly what the prior member was just alluding to. You have a request for an insubstantial modification. And so the only thing before the board is a determination, a vote by the board as to whether or not it is insubstantial or not. And it's our position as set forth in our application for the notice of project change that it is indeed insubstantial under the regulations because you have a reduction in the number of units, as Madam Chair noted, from 35 one-bedrooms down to 21 one-bedrooms and going from 4 stories down to 3, and a very small footprint change. And the regulations, the state regulations are very specific that when a notice of project change is put forward, the only issue is whether, one of the triggers within the regulations, occurs. And if there is a reduction in units, that is a typical situation where it is an insubstantial change. If there is an increase, then certainly that might lead to a determination of substantiality, or if you're increasing the height as well. But here, they're going down in both directions. And I certainly appreciate, and I know that the applicant does as well, the chair's concern regarding the loss of units, but it is an economic decision, a business decision that's being made. And so really the only issue before you is whether or not this is substantial or insubstantial. And again, under the regulations, we believe very, very clearly it is merely an insubstantial modification. And so what we would ask the board to do is to have a simple vote to say that the request for a project change is set forth in the November 2020 document that we provided to you with all the attachments, that it is indeed an insubstantial change under 760 CMR 5607 4D. So that's what we need. And if you need to hear from me further, my problem is that I've lost the phone connection because there was feedback. So now I can't hear you, even though I can see you, but I might be able to do a chat function if you have a question for me beyond that.
Okay, this is Susan again. I realize what's in front of us tonight. It was just a light little commercial break before we went forward. So, and to have you enunciate everything we already knew, we'll go forward. I think that to lose 14 units is a lot. I like that the financing went down with everything else going down. But I'd like to know what created this change. Was it the financing or was it other reasons? And Danielle, I don't want to cut you off. You were starting to say when you were cut off. What do you want to say?
No, I stand corrected looking at this. So reduction in units says that it does not count as a substantial change.
Well, it's more than 10%. An increase, it says decrease, the line of pay, reduction of the site, 10%, the site, it's staying the same, but with the apartments all changing, the individual units, a decrease of less than 10% in the floor area of individual units. Where does it say here that the units, if there's a decrease in the units? Here it is, number 3. A reduction in the site. That number 1's the height of the building.
No. If you could look at at letter D, the following matters, oh, then it says generally will not be substantial changes. So generally, so now it feels like there is something subjective about this. I wish that I had known what the changes were. I didn't actually get anything about what the changes were. Was there something that was emailed to us about the
Some time
changes?
ago.
The
Yes.
packet was emailed
Okay.
in December.
In
Okay,
November?
then that's,
It
Does not
was
work.
November
Okay,
6th, 2020.
okay, I didn't see it because usually, like, I can't comb through all my emails and I don't print anything. So when I looked on the website, I didn't see anything new for this, unless I just saw the ones from 2012. And I didn't see any updates, so I just assumed that we hadn't received anything. So I didn't actually see this list here so that I could weigh what the changes were against what is a substantial or insubstantial change.
So what is the rest of the board feel? Do you feel that losing a floor and 14 units for a 35 unit building to start with is substantial or not? That is the question. I mean, we could talk about a couple of other things, but the bottom line is, why did this happen? I know Mr. Macaluso mentioned some reasons, but was financial a problem?
Yeah, Madam Chairman, that's clearly the primary issue. I mean, when we imagined, first of all of Cape and Court, that goes back over 15 years, we imagined this senior campus, which now includes 95 public housing independent living units connected to 99 units of VNAs, dependent living units, assisted living. Now we have our 25 units in the historic building. And so this is over 15 years of really cobbling together multiple sources of funding in order to build in different time frames. When we went forward with phase one, the Waterworks building, which is historic, we had at first thought about adding to the building. And we had some problems with it was both national and historic register. So we were in Washington appealing a denial on some of our architectural design for the front building, where we might have had more units there instead of the 25, might have had 30 units in that building. But we had to make some changes in accordance with the historic nature of the property. So it's an evolving campus, the entire thing. The Housing Authority is expending a lot of resources. While this has been pending and we've been able to build in small, the Housing Authority has been expending and committing a lot of resources to the Clarendon development. And so what that does is that really depletes whatever resources that we have in order to go forward. And we can see if we don't go forward at this time, where we're going to get probably the benefit of construction techniques with the modular, which we're planning to use at Clarendon right down the street. This may be another 5 to 7 years before we're able to get the funding to increase the number of units.
Okay.
Madam Chair, if I may,
Yes,
Alana also is asking to speak. Alana, or Ms. Quirk, for the record, while the board is speaking with the applicant, you can generally kind of respectfully jump in if you need to.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay. Great. Because I got the audio back on my phone because I could barely hear you and now see you as well. So I just want to emphasize what I had mentioned before. I certainly understand and appreciate what the chair has been saying with respect to the concern about reducing the number of units because that represents a disappointment.
In here.
I can't hear. Charlotte? Everybody's shaking their head.
I am connected though. It's good I'm talking.
This is where my ability to do remote tech support kind of hits its limit.
Well, we're not having a good night tonight.
Our technology, I'm gonna blame all of the things going on in Washington for all of the technology being broken.
And I don't think that's necessary. Not funny, but go ahead.
Apologies, Madam Chair. Unfortunately, I really don't know how to provide remote tech support beyond what I've been able to provide so far.
Okay, so I have a question for the board while you're trying to figure that out. So Elaine, Ann, Josh, do you feel this is substantial? And my next question is, if we feel it's substantial, what happens? Where do they start? Do they have to start all over again on the building, or what happens here? That's my question.
Madam Chair, if I may, if
Yes.
the board determines tonight that this change is substantial,
Right.
the next step is that just this change, not the project overall, just this change is advertised for a public hearing. And the board then holds a public hearing with public comment and can vote to approve the change with conditions, or deny the change. It's somewhat like a miniature 40B decision.
Okay, and if I can ask you or Mr. Macaluso one more time, just to make sure it's clear in our minds, if we say it's not substantial and it goes forward with a reduction, they continue, they'll go forward with this, and what happens to, where all the new plans and stuff? Is that with the planning board, or who looks all the new stuff over?
So if this project is, or if this change is deemed to be
Approved.
substantial, it's approved.
Yeah.
I do not have that level of familiarity with kind of this step in the process of who exactly would be reviewing it. I would need to go, in all likelihood, the architectural plans and everything would be reviewed by staff to make sure that it's consistent with what the board has decided, just as with normal de minimis changes. But
if I could mention one thing, this is Frank Valdez, the architect speaking. Maybe one of the things that we should mention is that we're building this new 21 units as a modular. It's a steel modular system that we're trying to implement, similar to what it's going to be put together in Clarendon Hills. We've also designed the system in such a way that if in the future we needed to add additional boxes that represent additional units on top of it, we are designing it in such a way that we could potentially add more units to the complex if need be, and that we could do that. So, I mean, as Joe expressed, there is a financial component associated with this as to what can be built, and therefore the 21 units became the threshold. But the building would be flexible and allow for additional units to be added on top in the future if that were to be financially feasible and doable in the near future. So we're trying to make sure that we could do that, and it was one of the things that was suggested from the modular company that they could do. So we're trying to work with them to implement that flexibility with the building.
Yeah, I think that's a big plus, to be able to look forward. We're cutting back, but to look forward in case, like you say, that need really arises. Anybody have a comment? Raise your hand, please. Questions? Josh?
Coming into the meeting, I felt like this was a substantial change, but I didn't have the guidance from 760 CMR. And reading the section that Charlotte has up on the screen for us right now, I'd be comfortable finding that the proposed changes are not substantial, just based on the guidance here. So, my mind has changed since 5:30 this evening, but I'm comfortable reading this, that I'd be comfortable voting that it's not a substantial change.
Great. How about you, Ann? Can't hear you.
Okay,
through the chair.
I agree with Josh.
Good. Thank you. Elaine, how you doing down there?
So the reduction is a 25% reduction?
No, it's like 40% if I did the math right.
40.
Yes. I thought 40%. So we're going from 35 to 21 and there's 14 loss. And that's 40% of 35 is exactly 14.
Mhm.
Madam Chair, if I may, I'm not sure whether the percent reduction in unit count should be considered for this building or for the site overall. Because there is another building on the site that has, I believe, 25 units that have already been built and will be 25 units, both beginning and end.
But when we approved it, Charlotte, did we approve it as a package of phase 1 and phase 2?
It was approved as a package.
Oh,
It was then subsequently, due to, I believe, financing issues. I wasn't around at the time, but I believe due to how financing needed to be structured, it was split into 2 phases, with the Mystic Waterworks building being phase 1 and this new building being phase 2. But it was proposed as one phase or one project.
Okay, that makes a big difference. Yeah, because the 14 is still the amount that's lost, but the percentage is way different now.
Yeah, so that would be basically a 24% reduction from the
Okay.
original approved. So it was 60 units approved originally, 25 and 35, and now we would be the 25 already
Got it.
built
Got it.
and 21.
Right, we have, yeah. Elaine, did you have your hand up still?
Yeah, that's what I had just said, 25%, but it's 24%,
Okay,
which sounds substantial
better.
to me. But I understand that they're up
Yeah.
against financial difficulties there. So I guess I would like something rather than nothing, since
Yeah.
there's financial problems. But I also like the suggestion that I just heard that in the future, should more money be acquired, and we certainly do need units of this type in our city, that there is a possibility that that 4th level would be able to be added on should money come down the road. So I was happy to hear that.
I do, that's a real deal maker for me. Danielle? Danielle?
Yes, I'm here. Again, I'm just looking at substantial or insubstantial, not whether I like it or not, or
Yeah.
what might happen in the future. I just want to stay on that. And I'm just going through the list and very objectively. So, okay, so it's not an increase. I didn't do the math for the third one. If it's about the same footprint, I mean, I guess with that.
Madam Chair, there is no reduction in the site.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So it says, so then the following matters generally will not be substantial changes. I wish it didn't say generally.
They both say generally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. True.
It also says some guidance at the top.
Yeah.
So it's not, you know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's a good,
Madam
it's a
Chairman,
good legal document.
Madam Chairman,
Yes,
if I can
Frank.
interrupt, there's just one thing I wanted to point out. Before we proceed, DHCD, the same people that promulgated these regulations, have to issue us a project eligibility letter. And we can't go forward without that. So they will need to confirm that we're in compliance with this. And in discussions that PEL is working its way up the chain, and it's supposed to be issued very soon with no objections to it from everybody we spoke with.
Okay, thank you. So Danielle, you want to finish up what you were saying?
So looking at this guidance, I think I can be comfortable saying that it's not a substantial change, though on its face it feels substantial. But looking at this guidance, it seems like reductions, no one seems to care about according to this guidance, but increases
Yeah,
get paid attention to more. So, I mean, I'm fine with ruling it as a insubstantial change based on
Yes.
this information that I'm looking at tonight for the first time.
Did, Ian, did I have you weigh in? I'm sorry, I don't want to neglect you.
Yes, I mean, just the same thing as Danielle and Josh said. It seems
Yeah.
counterintuitive, but if we strictly follow the math guideline, it doesn't qualify generally as substantial. And I think when we do look at it subjectively, it's not substantially more detrimental. You know, it's not, you know, if you just look at the project overall as well,
Right.
it's fine. But
That was
I do note that it feels counterintuitive, but I think since we don't object to the project as presented, it would just be a matter of red tape to have them come back again, get all the approvals all
Right.
over again.
Right, which
So-
is, that's not good. I have a question for either Frank or whomever, or Joe. Are all the existing, all the apartments that are left, all gonna be the same size as planned, the layout's the same and all that stuff?
The plans are all exactly the same. I mean, the building
Good.
footprint, we try to stay with it.
God bless.
So the plans
Yeah.
would be exactly the same, and it stays the same almost as before, so. doesn't
Good, all
change.
right, and like the garden apartments, the town, all that stuff's all staying the same.
All of it.
All right. So, I guess are we ready to vote? I'm ready to vote on this. Is everybody else? Yes, yes. All right, so, Madam Clerk, could you just give us a little intro so we can, cast a vote on the,
Yeah.
to determine whether it's proposed.
No, it's just.
In the
I couldn't
matter
hear it.
of the changes
I
to
just didn't,
485 Mystic Valley Parkway, I make a finding that the proposed changes are insubstantial.
Great. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Elaine Severino. All in favor of the proposed changes being, the proper word is insubstantial, please say aye. Elaine Severino. Danielle Evans.
Aye.
Ann Brockelman.
Aye.
Josh Safdie.
Aye.
And Susan Fontano, aye. Let the record show it was unanimous that the approval for 485 Mystic Valley Parkway are insubstantial changes. Good luck, guys. Keep it trucking.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks, Frank. Thanks, Joe. And do we still have Lana there?
I think you can hear me. Thank you, Madam
There
Chair.
you
Thank
are.
you, members of the board. At
Thank
the
you
very
so
end.
much.
Happy
Thank
New Year.
you. Same to you guys. Bye-bye. So I believe that's it on our agenda tonight. Yes?
Yes.
Anybody have any comments before we close the meeting? Everything's happy? So could I have a motion to close the meeting? Danielle?
Sorry,
What's
my kids
this?
are screaming.
We can't even hear them. Go
They're
ahead.
screaming on the other side of the door. I make a motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Elena Severino. All in favor, say aye. Elaine Severino,
Aye.
Danielle Evans,
Aye.
Ann Brockelman,
Aye.
Josh Safdie,
Aye.
and Susan Fontano, aye. Charlotte, thanks for all your help tonight and clarifying some stuff.
Of course.
Again,
That's what I'm
happy,
here for.
healthy new year. And we'll get back to our other stuff in a couple of weeks. We'll see you all.
And I have the election on the next agenda because I forgot to put it on this one, so it's already ready to go on the next one. Sorry about that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Bye.